everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining from. Thank you.
Hey.
We're back again. Again. Right.
Again. We'll be here all year if we all extend. Keep going.
So, some of you are repeat attenders, which is awesome. But we will still go through some of our sort of bullet points about this and just some sort of slight rules.
Housekeeping.
We'll call it housekeeping, not rules. So this session is being recorded. So if you don't want your name shown or you don't want your voice heard, then you're going to have to leave, but hopefully you won't. So session's recorded, so attendance isn't anonymous. We're going to use the chat for just general chat. So if you want to say hello, if you want to tell us where you are, great, fantastic, use the chat. This time we did it a little bit differently to the other sessions, just because we wanted to gauge some of the sort of interest that people might have. So what we will do this time is we've got all of your questions. You're welcome, Maria. So we've got all your questions. We will put the questions in and Amy will find you and allow you to ask your question if you want to. So specific examples are fine. Don't share sensitive data, please, because again, this has been recorded. Questions should be on the topic of customer insights journeys, not data. This is all about journeys.
You're in the wrong place.
Yeah, wrong place if you want data stuff. And we should have plenty of time to get all of the questions answered that were submitted. And also at the end, we'll open up the questions. If you want to submit new things, then that's perfectly fine as well if we've got time. Finally, no liability from Amy and I will be accepted for how you act upon stuff that is discussed today. So in other words, you still should really be consulting either your Microsoft partner or a consultant that you're working with if you're not sure before you go off and do something. Anything else from you, Amy?
I think, yeah, just we're wearing our community hats. I still don't have the hat, but I keep drawing it like a party hat. So yeah, community hats on. We're just being nice people.
Yes.
Community hat. If anyone wants to send one, you know where I am.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Okay. So the first question is from someone who's not here. So do we...
I think we still address, and then because it is being recorded. So let me go ahead.
Then I can't ask them questions.
Let me put the question in.
Oh no, he's here just in time. Just in time,
perfect.
Ferdinand. I have questions about your question. I'm going to enable your mic, and if you would like to read out your question or ask your question per se, it's your turn first.
I'm putting the questions. So if you go to the Q&A area, the question will be posted there. But Ferdinand, if you want to ask in person, you know the drill.
Yes, I know the drill, and thank you for that.
Welcome.
Hello, good morning. The default values on the event form, you see, we have the problem that we are hosting those events on our own website and stuff, and we have seen if the default is we change it by a script to set it to the value you wanted to have, but then we have recognized that in the background system, Microsoft could not handle this. So we had to change it back manually, save it, and then turn it to the value we wanted to have. Otherwise, we got conflicts with the URL that will be created. And so I was wondering, we now decided to turn it back, to leave it with the default value Microsoft had. But I'm wondering, you see, so many things are changing now, and we could not react with the normal behavior. Just make a script, change the default value, for example, and it behaves differently. And because the back system. And do you have an idea how to handle those? For example, it was in the event form. The stuff to do such things we want to do, and it's necessary to do them, but how to do that the background system from Microsoft will also react in the way we want to have them.
I think eventually this might be something that would come as part of a default setting. You know, like we've got the default form settings and stuff. So maybe that comes an option to set the default. I completely hear you on the event form though. It's like every week it's changing, it's breaking, it's really stressful. in this scenario, I wouldn't try and mess with what it needs. It obviously wants to create it as the specific thing which you found. Why not use a workflow, a real-time workflow, but it will run after create. So let it create, and on create, kick in your workflow that changes it. So for the user, it would look like a double save. And then you would still achieve the same outcome, that the first save is what Microsoft needs, and then you're changing it instantly for the user.
Okay, that could be an idea. I was just wondering if we had to fill it in mandatory things, but if we will, you see, for example, change it. No, leave it like it is, save it the first time, and then real-time workflow
And then
to
kick
change
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that will help.
I mean, I was going to say the challenges that you have, Amey and I have for our clients as well.
Yeah.
And your question, Finn, I know I have an excuse because I've been on holiday for a while and I haven't looked at events for a while. So I went and I was like, oh, the new UI. And I didn't even know that they'd changed it yet. So everything that they change, not everything is going to have like a line item in the release notes for each month.
No.
So it's a shock to us as well sometimes, where you're like, whoa.
Hard.
And sometimes it's not even obvious because it's something that's been changed in the logic for something, so you have to like figure it out because errors happen and things like that. So yeah, it's not ideal, and it would be nice if everything was documented, but it's not. So yeah, I think Amy's suggestion in terms of let it do what it needs to do in terms of creating records, and then go ahead and change it after the fact. Yeah.
We will give it a try. Thank you for that hint.
Yeah. No worries.
No problem. All right. So let me put Gillian's question in. So we've got Gillian Monday.
We don't actually have a Gillian Monday here, so it's going to be awkward if I try and ask questions, but we can give it a shot.
Well, let's see. So I'll read it out. If I have a disparate group of, or disparate, however you want to say it, a group of people that I want to send the same email to through the marketing app, is this possible? Example, a group of people whose direct debit date needs to be moved. There are a few common factors and common factors that they have with each other would also apply to others who should not get the email. I wish Gillian was on.
I mean, this is more about knowing your data, right? And segmentation. It's either segmentation or trigger.
When
so
she's
it's the
saying
logic.
Disparate group, do you think she's saying basically like she can't quite figure out a way
that's what
to
the vibe
combine
I'm
them
getting.
together with a segment?
So it's a group of people with the direct debit needs to be moved, but there's common factors, but they're not uniquely identifying. It's kind of what I'm gleaning from that. So how does she know? This is what I always ask. I'm like, well, how do you know? Yeah. So you kind of got to strip it back to how do you actually know?
There has to be a way to figure it out.
And if it is a person who just knows, worst case scenario, I'd go, well, because you need a trigger because you need the context. I'm guessing if it's direct debits.
It'll be unrelated.
So you'd have to do something smart with a trigger without asking more questions. I think you need to understand your audience better and ask questions beyond where you are right now. It's like, how do you know? Get rid of the system. How do you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe ask more questions.
Yeah, to me, if a human can go through a list and go, oh, it's this one, this one, this one, there's something else that's telling them it's this one, this one,
it's a data issue, right?
Yeah. So you've
got to fix the problem further up the chain.
Exactly. You're either going to have to manually put them into a segment or figure out what that thing is. And then I would suggest using a trigger, like you said, because you need to be able to get other information about that direct debit. But yeah, there's got to be something that she can use.
There's got to be something.
There's got to be. There's just got to be. All right. So hopefully Julia Bickle is on.
Yes. Mic is enabled.
Hi, Julia.
You need to unmute yourself, though. I can unmute you, but it's rude if I do. So you might not want to ask. You're still muted, so I'm going to read it out instead. Please feel free to interrupt me. How to move segments from outbound to real-time marketing. Do you have any best practices? All my responses are just jokes, so go on, you go.
Well, so the biggest thing I would say is don't move them all, and actually probably don't even try and move them using the tool that Microsoft have put out, which there is an import tool, but actually step back and use this as a really good opportunity to analyze the segments that you have and then decide which ones actually you're using and should be real-time marketing segments. Because what I've seen, and I'm sure you're the same, Amey, is a lot of customers that every time there's a new journey, they instantly go off and create a segment, even though it's essentially the same logic that they've used over and over and over again. So I would say use this as an opportunity to analyze what you've got in outbound and not to just try and move them, but to really like clean up your segments.
Yep, definitely agree. It's a really good opportunity for an audit, to clear out the crap. And the approach to doing it is to sit down with some really good snacks and some good music and hit your head on a wall.
Oh,
It's just got to be done. I've got it set up
It
for myself
has
for a
to.
couple of clients. It's usually a bit easier than you think. Like once you've done one, it's usually adjustments and variations. It's just a sucky job. Like I
Yeah.
get it, but there is no magic. There's no like secret apart from asking whoever your users are to go in and clean up the list and decide a concise list of what they want. I've had a couple of customers, I just go in and stop any of the segments you don't want me to bring over and leave me with a list of what you want. That's like the nicest way to do it because then they've explicitly made all the decisions. And then you just pick up that list and you'll start to find patterns.
That was the other thing I was going to say with the ones, there will be patterns and there should be some things that you would always be putting into a
Yes.
segment. So
Yep.
you should really be putting something about consent. Do they have an email address? Are they active? All those sorts of things that typically you would say, right, this will go in every segment. And you can also create that as like your base segment, your starting point, and then
Yes.
include that in your segment. So it might be that you include the same things every time in every segment. Figure out what your every time stuff is, your logic, and create that as kind of like your base segment, and then just include that in your segments and then add in the extra bits that are needed for each one. So hopefully that helps, and good luck, because it is
Good
okay.
luck.
All right, so we have Isabella.
Isabella. Do I have an Isabella? I do not have an Isabella. I can be Isabella.
Go for it. You ask the question. Oh.
Okay. So, not all the features that were in Outbound are in real-time marketing. Do you know if Microsoft is going to add them? And this is where Isabella being here would be really helpful because I'd like to say which ones.
Well, we know
I guess,
something's
yeah.
not going to be added. Social posts, we know
Yes.
that's gone away.
LinkedIn lead gen, build
LinkedIn
your
lead
own.
gen, yeah. At the moment, that's gone away. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Redirect URLs has gone away.
Gone.
What else is gone?
Subscription lists.
Subscription, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, but we've
Yeah.
got some questions about marketing lists, which is
Oh,
effectively
good. My
what they
favorite.
are. Yeah. But yeah, so anything, I think at this point, anything that you don't see in real time that is in Outbound probably isn't going to be there, because I can't think of anything else.
There's some stuff coming though, like events has a lot of stuff still in the pipeline, like
yes.
payments and stuff like that.
Little
So
bits
events is
for events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lots of little features. There's not like all the main things. I don't think there's any main thing missing apart from the ones you just said, social posting and LinkedIn. They're like the big hunks that have gone.
Yeah. Which is a shame on the LinkedIn, but social posting was always a bit crap anyway.
Yeah,
so.
it was mediocre anyway, so yeah.
So yes, probably Microsoft is probably not going to. However, you can also look at the wave release notes for things, and see if your feature that you think is missing is on that. And then there's also the community forums. You can post a question, or you can.
And some stupid bot will answer it, and you can throw it in the bin.
Right, let's move on.
Next,
we have Kenzie Rigby.
And we don't have a Kensby either. There's no Kenzie. Do you want to be Kenzie?
I'll be Kenzie. Okay. We are not seeing accurate data on the Insights tab for web traffic analytics or logging email activities. We have the tracking code set, so we're a bit lost on why things are not tracking correctly. Would love any tips you have. Now, to me, those two things are different. So email activities and web traffic. So I can speak to the web traffic and what I'm guessing that might be the case. So let's say that this is somebody that's on outbound, because otherwise why would they have registered for this session? So we have to assume that they originally had web tracking code for outbound.
Yes.
So my guess is that probably that is still the code that they might have. And if they've added real-time code in as well, then essentially they're double tracking. Now, the analytics originally only allowed for triggers to fire if somebody visited a website or clicked on a link. Then not long before, well, maybe a month ago, they added so that you could see it on the insights for an individual. And then I don't know if it's there yet, I haven't been able to test, but I believe it's also coming to where we'll be able to see the website analytics on a timeline for a contact or a lead. So slowly, bit by bit, we're seeing things. So on the Insights tab, likely you've got a conflict between the two. And the website traffic analytics for real time did not exist until fairly recently. So it's probably a conflict and also a timing thing, I would imagine. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Email activities, I don't know, it's hard to know.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but there's
one.
Also the classic is checking the date filter. I see a lot of people stumble on that because it defaults to last 30 days. But if you're looking at insights, you need to check the date filter aligns with the email you're looking at. If you're looking at a long running campaign or something from 2 months ago, it'll only show you the last 30 days if you look in certain angles. So that might be why. If not, it's pretty much a support ticket, because I would also say, like, how do you know it's not right? How do you know it's not accurate? That's what I'm always wondering with those. Like, how do you know? Did you go to everyone's mailbox and watch? So I'd question more like, how do you know it's not right?
So I've had customers, and this is why I'm wondering if they're like comparing with something. And I've had customers comparing with something like lead forensics, or there was something called Ruler that's out there as well for attribution. And so they're comparing and looking at the analytics in this other tool. But to me, you can't compare because you don't know the code and the algorithms and all the rest of it and what it's actually doing. So I think to try and do a comparison is a little bit challenging if you're doing it with a completely different system. But yeah, hopefully if she watches this recording, then that will help. Do we have Daniel Pickering?
Daniel. We do not. No, Daniel.
All right. So this is
next question.
A couple of things. So this is missing form functionality when used on websites. So custom registration fields, we do have that. So it says no more and then unmapped fields still in preview. So that is essentially your custom registration fields, is your unmapped field. So I would say it's not missing, it's different.
Yes, that's a good summary.
Yeah. And then how contacts can choose to subscribe to subscription lists.
They're gone.
They
cannot subscribe anymore. It is a bit of a hill that I might start dying on soon, because I think it's a big gap. Because I know there's topics, there's purposes and topics, but sometimes you have these lists that they have a short lifespan. Like, you just need to add people to a list through a form, okay? Like, it's not always a topic, it's not always a data attribute. So the only way you can do it now is to have an unmapped field that's checkbox, for example, and then segment on the, oh no, you can't segment on the form submission values either. So what I do for another customer is that we generate a summary of the form submission values as text. So then we can segment on the form submission values to say that they said this thing, therefore they're on the list. It's a disgusting workaround. I will give you that. There is an alternative, and I'm sad about it. I feel you. But yeah, custom registration fields, it was started, is that for events? It's only recently come out as preview for events. You could still put them on yourself in the background, and they worked, by the way. But they're officially available now, and there's all sorts of other changes on the event at the minute as well. So it's It's different.
Yep. Now,
Good summary.
Arzu is on. I've just seen.
Arizo, I'm on my way.
So hopefully, if you would like to read your
Your
questions,
mic
you can.
is enabled.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. Yes, we have many events in outbound marketing, but our concern is what happened if in end of the June, because we need to create or recreate our outbound marketing events in real-time marketing, but we have some event registration in outbound marketing, and I don't know what happened for them, and we should recreate them in the real-time marketing. And and they want also need to access to the outbound marketing events. And I want to know what happened for this data, and what should we do? And this is one of my questions. And I have another question, maybe later I can ask you, but it's about the event registration form. Because as I know, before we used the API for getting the data from the website and create an event registration and so on. But right now, I thought maybe the last option is using the event registration form. Is it right? Or even we can use API for real-time marketing?
Lots of questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. Amey, do you want to start?
I think so. There is a new API for real-time marketing. I think it's in preview, but it is available. So you can use the real-time marketing API. You could also just use the Dataverse API, because essentially all you're doing is create an event registration. So, and there is some benefits to using the events API that's available, because when new features come available, such as waitlists, all the logic's going to be handled for you, but that is still in preview. So your options are use the real-time API in preview or use standard Dataverse API. And that is your option that is instead of using a form, for example, the standard embedded form. But you then have to handle all the logic yourself. Anything that comes up like the waitlist stuff or payments, you're going to have to start handling all that stuff yourself. So that's a decision you need to make with your team about what's the best one here. If it was me, I'd try and encourage them to use the forms, especially while it's quite unstable, for want of a better word, until it really settles down and we know what it's doing, because you're pretty much building on shifting sands. So for me at the minute, building anything on the outbound event, on the real-time events API and is a bit, you're chasing your tail and their tail. In terms of your data is not going anywhere. It's still there. It doesn't get deleted. It's still using the same table. It's just that like the events that are in outbound, they won't accept new registrations because the form obviously won't submit. The API gets turned off. Calendar registration invites won't work. The add to calendar, things like that. But the data will all still be there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not going anywhere. So you can reference it.
Yes, of course. And it means we can recreate that events in the real-time marketing. And we should also create event registration also again in the event registration in the real-time event. I mean,
why would you want to?
Your event registrations aren't going to go anywhere. So if somebody's registered, unless you're saying, right, we're completely creating a whole new event, you could either relink those original event registrations, but I would suggest that if you can finish off an event that you've already got. If you are in the middle and you're like, oh, well, we've already got, let's say 10, 20 event registrations, but you must create a brand new one, then you can manually create those event registrations for the new event and then just remove the other ones. But the event registration record type is the same. It's just that, like Amey said, in terms of some of the things with add to calendar or the event, the calendar ICS file stuff, that might have some problems. But your question about the custom registration, you're not going to have access to add the fields, but the custom registration table, just like Amey said with the other ones, it's not going away. Your data is not going to be removed, so it will still be there. You just won't be able to add those to the real-time forms.
Yes, of
Okay.
course. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Not a
worries.
problem. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we have the next one from Pippa, who is on.
Hey, LMNOP. Sorry, just trying to learn my
You're
alphabet.
doing your alphabet.
Yep, it was really hard. It's not even in alphabetical order. I don't know why I'm bothering. But your mic is enabled, and I know my alphabet.
Hi, Pippa.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Thanks so much for holding these sessions, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we have lots of duplicates in our CRM because people sign up to our marketing list using multiple different email addresses, and this causes problems for people. And so I'm quite excited by the fact that you can use multiple email address fields to send marketing emails. But I'm a bit scared that if I enable this, I'm going to end up sending it to all 3 email addresses, even if they've not opted in.
Don't be scared. So what happens is when you enable the mapping to say, oh, okay, well, we want to allow to send to email 1, email 2, email 3. What you'll notice is on the communication tab for lead or contact, then when you're looking at that section, you've got a drop down, and typically you see an email address and you see maybe a phone number for text messages. If you enable the other email addresses, you would then see if those were filled out. You would then be able to select those other email addresses, and you'd see, have they opted in using that email address? Now, when you go and you have your journey and you pick an email, you're setting then which email address do you want to send to. So it's not like you can just say, oh, yes, send it, and it'll go to any of the email addresses. The intent is that you pick which email you want to send to. So let's say it was a database and it was child parent or teacher parent, and there were 2 email addresses. You might say, well, I want to send this to the teacher's email address or the parent's email address or the child's email address, depending on what that is. So it's not a send an email and it could go to multiple. It's pick an email type or an email value, and then it would go to anybody opted in that has that email address.
Oh, so that's not really going to work for my situation. I'm not going to be able to get rid of my duplicates by just bundling them together with their email addresses, even if they're subscribed to the same newsletter.
You'd have to pick and say this email is going to which of the 3.
Oh,
you could stagger it, so have like a 3-pronged journey and use an exclusion segment.
Yep. Or branch
so your
it out
first
and
segment
see,
would be like email address 1.
Yeah.
Second one, and then say if the contact has not received this message, send it, and try the second.
Yeah,
I don't know how that would work.
You
know what I mean?
We don't really use customer journeys. We just use the send now because it's just easier. We just do email blasts.
Journey behind the scenes, so
yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
That's how it works. Would it be great if it said, oh, let me check all of them and see what I want to do, but you have to tell it. You have to tell it what you want it to do, unfortunately. So
okay.
So yeah, turn on if it will do what you want, but it sounds like it's not quite what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question. We've got Maria Fonsel.
Maria. It's still not now. Oh, found you. Enabling mic.
Hi, Maria.
Do you want to ask your question? Maria doesn't want to talk to us.
Yes, I do.
Yay, she does.
Nice being here, and thanks for organizing this. As said,
thank you.
What's your recommendation using custom fields with events? I think you already touched a bit about those, but we have the scenario where we have a custom field for the group size. So the teacher is registering the entire group, and I should be able to handle that, and seems to be really, really tricky.
Because you used to be able to in the event portal, right? Like register multiple people at once. I would build something custom for that. And I would I would actually create duplicate the event registration. So if someone submits a registration and says, I'm coming with 5 people, I'd create 5 registrations.
Behind the scenes.
And then just make sure it doesn't send to 5 people the confirmations. But then you're riding on the out-the-box functionality, so you're not trying to hack the capacity. You're not trying to force anything elsewhere that's going to trip you over later. You just need to be careful about the confirmations and reminders if you're using triggers.
There'd almost have to be some kind of custom field though, like on the event registration.
To say send.
That says this is a
primary registration or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
some kind of flag. Yeah. I hate the word flag, but it would be some kind of flag. Indicator. Some kind of indicator to say they're the primary person who registered, so you only send the confirmation to those people. Create duplicate registrations to fill all the slots, because then you're not, because then if you want to start using wait lists and stuff, it's going to behave properly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I imagine if and when they do build that, I imagine that's what they would do to cover those scenarios. So that would be my recommendation to cause you the least amount of pain further down the chain.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, Microsoft, why do you do this?
It's not pain-free, but it's the least amount of pain.
Yeah, I feel that. Thanks a lot.
No worries.
We have Ian Buddiman.
Ian's asking us a question that I think is going to be funny.
Hi, Ian.
He sounds passionate. Give me your passion. You need to unmute yourself, but your mic is enabled if you want to ask your question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I kind of forget the wording there, but let me rephrase it. So in real-time marketing, currently we are facing challenges in personalizing our emails with account-related fields. Let's say like account name and number, because the audience is contact-based. While on outbound marketing, we don't have any problem to traversing the data from like contact and then going to the account number, account name, that kind of stuff. But on real-time marketing, we can getting some roadblock on that part. So we found out in some forum, Microsoft, also some other people got the same issue. They said it's kind of limiting to 2 hops only. Is that correct? Like 2 hops traversing. And then,
you want to go to the parent account. Is that what?
Yeah. So we have that contact, right? On the from our account, we have the contact, but from the contact, let's say on our marketing emails, we would like to say, hey, this is your account ID or account number. It couldn't
That's not
get
more than
that.
2 hops away, is it? That's 1 hop.
You absolutely can do that. So I'm curious if you're. It's not security enabled fields that you're trying to display, is it?
No, it is not. Yeah. In outbound, it was like straightforward, no issue.
It should be straightforward in real time. You absolutely 1000% can do that. And
was it Microsoft support that told you that twaddle as well?
I opened a ticket with them and they keep pushing the ball like they haven't come back to us. Yeah.
Yes. I'm happy to help you. If you want to send me a message via my website, we can have a quick call. I'll show you how to do it. Or you can, or I can understand why it's not right, but from what you're saying, it should definitely be super easy. Definitely possible.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that later after the session.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Amy. Yeah.
No worries.
Amy will get you sorted.
One thing I can't fix without seeing it, so let's just get to the chase.
Yeah. All right, so this is the last question that was submitted, so we'll cover this, and then I've seen some other questions. We'll go back. I'm probably going to butcher this. Aurora?
Yeah, and I was looking for that person, but I'm not sure if maybe it's a typo for the person we had earlier. No, I don't think we have that person.
No, it's different because it's a
different spelling, missing
and a
Z.
different email address as well. So
okay, totally dyslexic over here, not the same person.
So
I'll ask you the question. So
let's do them in bits because there's actually a couple. So do the first.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Contact interactions. Will the outbound interactions still be viewable on the contact if we leave the interaction iframe linked to the outbound? Iframe.
So
21st century.
It is a control rather than an iframe, and we actually don't have the ability to edit that control, as in we can't say, oh, I only want to show real time or I only want to show outbound. However, I'm just having a look because in my system I have hidden outbound, so it no longer exists. So I'm just gonna have a look and see if it even shows it or not.
Is that the insights thing we're talking about, the insights tab?
Yeah.
Because you can have the tabbable one that shows you real time and outbound.
Yeah.
They're not in the same thing, but you can tab, so they should still be there, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I've hidden outbound in my system.
Oh, does it
so
stop
I'm
working?
just gonna see, well, I'm gonna see if it still shows or not. Nope. So I hid outbound and I only see the real-time insights on that control. So
Ooh.
that tells me that probably not.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
scary.
So
I actually turned off outbound and it breaks all your subscription center forms as well. I don't recommend doing it too soon. So probably not as a short summary, and that's a bit scary.
So. It's not on mine. So that tells, and it used to be, and I've hidden outbound. So to me, those things together say that no, it is probably not going to show. So you have no option. You're not leaving anything linked. It is there in the control, and we have no control over what shows on the control. So I think
wasn't there something about them merging the email interaction data and stuff into one table so we'd still be able to access it?
That could be the case, and it could be that it's actually combining everything. It would take me quite a while to figure that out. I did see something about that. Yeah.
So I think your data, you no longer have the tabs, but actually all the interaction data is merged into a unified analytics, I believe. I'm scared about where I've heard that, but I think that's the case. So now I'm worried that I've just identified myself, but never mind. I had a dream. Will the outbound sign remain visible on the environment or will it disappear?
I think they're talking about the navigation, in which case, no, that's gone. So
if you say hide outbound, but if you don't, then you keep it, right? It's just
no, but I would imagine, my assumption is that when everything goes away, then it will be essentially reflective of what happens when you hide it. Because otherwise, why, when you hide it, would it? I think that it's going to be the same scenario. I think you're just going to have real-time event planning, settings, and training in the navigation. So I don't think it will be there.
You could put it back on there, right?
I mean, you can go edit.
The tables are still there.
Sitemap. Yep.
So it's up to you, I think. It might disappear, but you can put it back on.
Well, to be fair, what I imagine is happening, and I haven't looked, but I would imagine when you do the hide, then there's some kind of control in the model-driven app that is basically just suppressing and hiding.
I think it's script,
that link. Yeah, so it must be still there. So in theory, I can probably go ahead and
stop it from hiding or create it again.
Fix it to show again, but yeah.
But why would you want to?
Well, exactly. Because then what you're going to have is you're going to have users that are going in to outbound.
Yeah, you don't encourage that.
Yeah, so I would say try not to. Last one, have you tested the segment migration tool? Any difficulties to be aware of? We have talked about this on quite a few of the sessions, haven't we?
I've not bothered with it. I've not had anything drastic enough that I've felt that it would benefit me more than cleaning up the existing segments and doing it myself. The only time I think I would use it is when I think it would fall over is on those really complicated ones where I'm struggling to get my head around how. And I'm yet to try it, but I imagine if I can't do it, I think the tool would also struggle. And it comes with no acceptance of liability. So any segment you migrate, you still have to go through and check it. There is no liability accepted, there's no guarantee it's going to be right. They don't do a member count check or anything like that. They come through as draft and they assume it's great. So you still have to do a lot of work, even if you use the migration tool. So it's worth, like we said earlier, get them to get whoever the users are to clean it up, get you a refined list, give it a shot, but I wouldn't hold out too much hope on it.
Yeah, agreed.
Good snacks, good music.
Yep.
Just do it.
So that's the questions that are submitted. So I've gone all the way back down to the bottom. And Ferdinand
has 700 questions.
no, had posted something about the custom registration field tab. So when you're on a form, so you are correct in terms of, he said that it doesn't let you add the custom registration fields. If you're creating a brand new form, it displays, and I think you have to stop a form in order to see it again. So in other words, if you just go in and edit, then it doesn't show the new custom, what do they call, unmapped fields.
Yes.
So yes, if it's a brand new form or you stop the form, you should be able to do it. But if you just go into edit, then you're like, where on earth have the unmapped fields gone? I don't know why they've done it. I guess there's some technical reason, but you can only add those unmapped fields if it's stopped or it's a new form.
Yes, and I told someone about this.
You told me.
Oh, was it you?
I'm someone. You told me because I was like, it's gone, it's missing, and
It's
I
gone.
think you
Yeah,
said,
if it's live and editing, it disappears. I think they are fixing that though. So it's a temporary feature. But yeah, if you try stopping the form, it might come back.
Yeah, it does, because I was like, why is it gone? Because I know I've seen it, but yeah, that's the case. Is Ferdinand still on?
He is. I think I
able to-
disabled his mic though, so let me re-enable
And then you can
his
ask
mic.
your next one, Ferdinand, about best practices for segments.
Thank you for the second chance. Yes, totally agree. You see, we identified, I think, 80 segments that have more than 100 contacts, and these are static segments in outbound marketing where they collected over years. For example, people they don't want to send out, so use them as a suppression segment. And now, the only idea I do have is to take those outbound segments, create a marketing list, a good old marketing list based on that outbound segment, and use that marketing list as a filter criteria in real time to rely on that marketing list to create a new dynamic segment in real time and maybe make a static copy of it, or leave the marketing list at the single point of truth. If they do want to add further people in the future, they have to add it to the marketing list to use it similar in that way. Is that the same?
That's the most flexible approach.
Yes.
On a generic scenario, but what you said is you're using it as a suppression list.
Yeah.
And in that case, just opt them out of marketing.
No.
Like stop relying on people using lists. It's risky.
Yeah, but you see, we have dedicated use cases where we don't want to send out definitely information to that group of customers. They receive normal marketing emails, but they will not receive, for example, customer voice survey. The company said,
like specific
please leave our contacts alone with customer voice survey. You can send everything, but no customer voice survey, for example.
And therefore,
and therefore we have such lists. Yeah, our people, they say they always are angry with us. We don't want to send them, even they are up.
Yeah, just be aware there's risks involved with doing that kind of thing. Like you're opening up a big, huge bucket of human error. So I wouldn't recommend anyone did that unless there was no other way around. But if you do want to do that, go back to marketing lists. I think being able to edit a segment that's live in a journey is a long way away. So even if you could get more than 100 people on, you can't change that list when it's being used in any journeys. So it's freaking useless. So go back to good old marketing lists. Life is good. Enjoy.
Good old marketing list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to rename it that for someone, I think. Good old marketing list. I like it.
Yeah. All right. So, Graham McAdam, got a question?
I can't. I'm finding you. I'm on my way. Mic enabled.
Hi, Graham.
Good morning, folks. Hi there.
Hiya.
Yeah, just I thought of a couple of questions here and wondering if you can help. It's building a form and it's regarding the consent level, the 3 new consent levels, and do we have to have the 3 of them in there if we're trying to gather consent for email marketing?
So, have to is relative. You may have an overzealous legal team that has their own ideas. I will tell you what I typically do, or what most of my clients do. So we don't put the 3 checkboxes on there, but usually on the form you'd have some kind of text that is the commercial tick box that says something like, by submitting this form, I acknowledge and agree to your privacy policy or terms and conditions. And then there's a hyperlink to what every website should have, is a privacy policy. And in that privacy policy is typically where you'd say, by using a website, you acknowledge that, or we use things like Google Analytics, we use tracking tools, we use whatever. So that privacy policy is what then contains everything that the person is essentially agreeing to when they use the website or specifically submit a form. And that's why I say, I have had some legal departments that I always say, it's up to you to make the final decision. Here's my recommendation, because there's no way I'm ever going to tick a box that says, sure, you can track me on a website. I know that websites track, but if somebody does not tick that box, you will never know if they've opened any of their emails. You'll never know if they've visited your website again. And also UTM parameters will never be appended to the URLs in your website that they click on.
Thank you. That's good to know. So if we don't have that tracking checkbox, then we won't be able to see the email analytics.
Well, so the tracking, again, I wouldn't necessarily be putting the tick box on it. I would basically make it non-restrictive for tracking, which means that unless somebody is explicitly opted out of tracking, so let's say in your privacy policy, someone ever reads it and then contacts you and says, hey, I submitted a form, but I do not want to be tracked. You then can go and opt them out, as opposed to, I've seen some people disable it, which then could get you in hot water, because if someone says, I don't want to be tracked, and you change it, then it doesn't matter if you disabled it, it will ignore it and carry on tracking someone. So I would say commercial, yes, but that is where you put the text that says you're agreeing to this privacy policy. Transactional, no, I would never be putting that on, because that should be disabled. So there's no need for someone to be opting into it. And then tracking, I wouldn't be putting it on. I would make it non-restrictive.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. I'll have a look into that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amy, would you say anything?
Agree with all of the above.
Okay.
Get your legal schmeagles to sort out the privacy policy, and then you can do fun stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, just to recap, sorry, if I don't have the tracking checkbox on the form, it will track regardless.
If
you've set it as non-restrictive.
Non-restrictive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And they've not previously opted out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to be doing it as disabled, and restrictive means you would have to have the tick box and everyone would have to tick that box, in which case otherwise your analytics will be absolutely dire and worthless. So yeah, I would only be putting commercial tick box on there, but the text that you put on there is a link to the privacy policy.
Brilliant. I was going down the route of having the field on there but hiding it so it doesn't appear. So it's
that's another option, but
then you're kind of pretending you've got opt-in, whereas I think it's cleaner to say we didn't ask you.
Okay,
rather than pretending you asked them.
Not everyone's going to come through a form as well. So if you have it as restrictive and force the tick box, everybody else in your database won't have been opted in necessarily. So again, you'll miss analytics. So
yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, thanks very much for that.
You're welcome.
That.
No worries. Thanks, Graham. Suzanne has a question.
Suzanne, your mic is enabled.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And
hi.
Thanks for the opportunity to be on this call.
You're welcome.
I think I'm unlike the others. I'm not an admin. I'm actually a user. More of a super user in the team, but trying to keep my head above the water with the rest of our team. The question that I've put in is something that we recently experienced or found out, because we did move once from Outbound to Realtime in the beginning of the year. And then our whole system moved from CRM to CE just a little bit later. And now, and I'm not sure whether that's related or not, but now we found out that on our marketing forms, so we're not using event forms, we're mainly using marketing forms as short forms. There was many of them when I created a view, it says in the handling duplicate leads, all of the ones that didn't have a target audience set are now using a rule to match an existing lead. So they're not creating a new lead, which is what we want for all of them. If somebody submits a form, we want that to show up as a new lead. So now we went in and thought, okay, let's just set the target audience, but then we get a pop-up that says if you, exactly. So we're kind of holding our breath at this point, because
that's always a good strategy.
55 forms and I'm very hesitant to do anything. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna take this opportunity to see whether there's any chance. Because it's not just about recreating the form, it's you know, the standalone URL and everything would go away.
There is a chance.
There
is a way. Yes. But you have to be not scared of HTML. So
okay, I'm not.
So if you go to edit and you basically go into the HTML, copy all of your HTML, put it somewhere so you're not losing it. Then change the target audience, so you will lose the form, it will be empty. But then in the HTML, and I'll have to well, you can either create a new form and see what it does, but there's basically for each field there's a new little sort of snippet, something that gets added in.
Property?
And
it's a property?
Property, thank you. And it's something like audience, and if it's just
data
lead,
target properties, data target, yes.
And so it will either just say lead, it'll say contact, or it'll be lead & contact. You could go through and you could add that in, and then it will work. So I've done that for some clients where we've got these wonderful forms that have been done way before they added in this new feature. And it was the same thing. It was like, oh my God, we've lost it. And then if you just go into the HTML, it'll be for each of the fields, and you'll either put, if it's something that is just for lead, then that's easy. You just put lead for all of them. If some fields were, thanks, Amy. So Amy just put it in the chat. So it's data target audience equals, and then it's either lead contact or lead and AMP contact,
and
like
that would not, so would that keep me my standalone URL for the form?
It wouldn't change anything.
Oh,
yeah.
So what you can do is just edit your HTML directly to put that property in, and then everything else stays the same.
Okay, I get that. I'm not afraid of that.
Don't be scared. Just try, obviously try it out with one of them, and then when you're comfortable, then you can go in and do them. But it might also be worth creating a brand new one just so you can go and look and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
So that you can understand where it's going in that field structure as well. But yes, you absolutely can do it.
But I think once you've done one, you could do a find and replace, right? Because you go to you just find data target property equals, find and replace it with audience and property, and just slap it in, find and replace, done.
Super. Okay. So is that something that was just quietly changed on the way, because we didn't have that issue before?
It wasn't quietly changed. It was in the release notes, but it was kind of, it was never something that was like, oh, and also it's going to ruin your existing
By the way, it's going to break everything. Yeah.
So yes, it was the basically the ability to map and link to parent contacts, leads. It was there, it was launched, it was in the release notes, but it was never something that it's like, and also this will be a pain in the backside for you. So
super.
So good luck, have fun, but you should. You absolutely can do it.
Thank you very
I think
much.
You're welcome. We've got time for maybe another question. Maria.
I know, quick and easy one, really.
Yeah.
But if I find Maria's name, that would make it quicker. I think she is still there. Sorry, Maria. Mic enabled. I don't have a good answer.
I do.
Lovely. Can you hear me? Maybe?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks again. Yeah, easy question. What is your recommendation for
Easy.
social posting?
So the social posting was never any good. And when I say never any good, I mean there wasn't really much benefit because it wouldn't find people that had commented on your LinkedIn posts or Facebook or Twitter or anything. It would basically essentially display the analytics that you could get in LinkedIn. So there wasn't essentially anything extra it was giving you. I would suggest looking at integrations with Dynamics for social posting. So it would be a third party, but you've got things like Octopost. There's something called Sprout Social that has an integration. I'm thinking there's another one. Sprinkler, spelt Sprinkler. So I would look for something that will give you benefit into the Dynamics full environment, meaning could you create a case from a social post? Could you create a contact or a lead from a social post? So those would be the sorts of things that, to me, if it's not going to give you that kind of benefit, then I would go and be using something like Hootsuite or some other tool that is like specific for social posting, and I would forget about Dynamics altogether. So unless it gives you value in Dynamics, use something that's external to Dynamics.
Thanks. I love your insights, and I love your blog as well. Thanks, both of you. And you, by meaning related or integrated to Dynamics, are you referencing to app stores, or just you need to go to those vendors' websites and find the information from there?
They might have ways to add via app source, but I would go and investigate different websites and see what their integration would provide. There's also a lot of them that would give you trials that you could set up, but I would be looking at what additional value might they provide. So do a bit of an analysis, looking for social posting platforms that have a Dynamics integration, but focus on what extra stuff would it give you. Like I said, creating leads, creating contacts, creating cases, whatever it might be. If you don't get any of that and you don't have the budget for it, then I would just use some other tool for your social posting.
Fully agree. Lovely. Thanks again.
You're very welcome. Not a problem at all. Just wondering.
We've got 3 minutes.
Have we got time for one more?
I mean, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I like both the questions, but Graham should probably go
only
first.
two questions. So
let's do it. Let's do it. Graham,
right.
go.
Graham, go for
mic
it.
enabled. I think. Yes.
Thanks for the second question. So yeah, I'm just wondering, after the 30th of June, can we still send email marketing from Outbound?
No. Next.
No.
Unless you request an extension.
Right.
Then no.
So that's a possibility to go to Microsoft.
You have to have a really good reason. You can't just be like, yeah, we kind of feel like we want to. And I don't know, Amy, do you know if I'm going to put the link you shared with me yesterday, Amy?
I've not done it myself personally. I've heard of people doing it. I think the only compelling story, you've got to have a compelling reason as to why. The only compelling reason I know of is events. That you're using events and payments and stuff that they've not released yet. So you need to have a compelling story as to why, because the features aren't available. You need to produce a plan of how you're going to action it all. So it's quite a bit of graft to get the extension.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
no worries.
But if it's just that, like, oh, we didn't know, and
we're just sticking around to it. I don't know how it applies.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
Yeah, that's pretty much the reason, actually.
Right,
so,
then no, Graham.
Thank
you. Luck. Let us know how that goes. All right. So, Pippa, last question from Pippa.
Yeah, I like this one. Let me find Pippa on the board. Sweet. Ready, go.
Hi, thanks. Yes, I love cleaning out clutter, and so when I delete old contacts, are all their consent records gonna stay there?
Yes. And I think that's a good thing.
Is it?
Because if someone's opted out, so they've opted out from marketing, so you delete them, they've opted out from marketing, somehow they get created again. Maybe someone's email synchronization creates the contact again. You've lost their consent tracking. Therefore, if you're going non-restrictive, they're opted in again. So technically you're breaching privacy policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
That's
there
good
is a
to
good
know.
reason why I would be very happy to let them sit there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even just someone deletes the contact by mistake and is quickly like, oh crap, let me just add it back. You wouldn't have a mechanism to be like, oh, now let's go ahead and create contact point consent if that had been deleted, because you have no way of knowing what the consent was. Was it opted out or opted in?
Yeah, it's just my Marie Kondo need to declutter everything.
Yeah, I think that table,
Work
I just
through
try
it.
not to look at it. That table to me is like, I don't like to look at it because it gives me the shits. So that to me is like something that I put in a box. I'm like, that table over there is doing something. You can't actually delete from it unless you go and disable loads of plugins as well. So it's very tightly controlled for compliance purposes. So Marie Kondo likes compliance as well.
I have managed to delete from an advanced view
yes,
when I made a mistake.
It's hidden for a reason.
You know, there might be people that no longer work at the place, but their mailboxes are still open. You know, I just want to delete them, just want to get rid of that address because it no longer even exists. But anyway, that's fine. Thank you for
we'll revert back to we accept no liability for how you act upon the advice paper. So yes, you could in theory do something, but we suggest not. So
okay,
excellent. Thank you very much to everybody for asking questions. Hopefully that was useful. The recording will be added online. It'll be available later on from the original blog post where you were able to register. Hopefully it was useful. Amey, good to see you again. I'll see you for the next one.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.